Even though we adopted precast much earlier, Chhattisgarh unfortunately has not adopted precast every part of the sector where it can. Wherein southern states, Hyderabad, Bangalore, they have started factories, developers have set up their own factories and are using them in their own projects. I don't believe that precast is expensive. It is all about proper design engineering. The main thing with precast is you have to be, very design conscious. And if you do that, you can compete with conventional technologies and you can even be lower than that if you have enough skill. There's a misconception that it is very fixed. It cannot be modified later by the client, but that is not true.
Tell me, what is one thing market is underestimating? Welcome to the Precast Concrete Show by Modular Pulse, where we talk to the people who are actually building India's future with modern construction technology. Today's guest, who's our client, is someone I wanted to feature on this for a long time. But before we get into the conversation, let me give you some context about the company. BSBK is a 100-year-old engineering and construction company, fourth generation, rooted in large infrastructure and industrial projects across India. They're based in Bhilai, but what makes them truly remarkable is, especially in our industry, is that they didn't just talk about modernizing construction. They built a precast manufacturing facility, one of the largest of its kind in India, and proved that precast could win a government tender at L1. What you're seeing right now is their project in Naya Raipur, Chhattisgarh. Over 6,200 affordable housing units, 3 lakh square meters of built-up area, which is around 30 lakh square feet. Ground plus 8 floors, entirely in precast. Hollow core slabs, wall panels, shear walls, pre-stressed elements, all manufactured in their own factory. And this factory has 5 hollow core beds of 144 meters each, 35 casting tables, capable of producing 300 square meters of built-up area every single day. This is not a concept. This is not a pilot. Actually, this is precast at its full industrial scale, executed right here in India. So now, let's hear from the main man behind it, Shirang Gupta from BSBK Precast. Mr. Shirang Gupta, and I will leave it to him to introduce himself, and then I will talk a bit about how I met him. Please, Shirang, please introduce yourself.
First of all, thank you for having me here. I'm from BSBK. It's a 100-year-old company. We've been completed 100 years in 2018. I'm the fourth generation, and we are part of a group that has been involved in engineering, infrastructure, and construction for many years. Our work has always been closely connected with large industrial projects, infrastructure development, housing, and engineering-led construction projects, basically. And over time, we realized that the construction as an industry still relies heavily on traditional on-site based methods, which can often be, slow and labor intensive and inconsistent in quality. So that observation is what eventually led us to, look seriously at modern rapid construction technologies. And for,
And this is which year? This is which year?
this was, I believe 2015.
Okay.
And
So that's interesting. So I also want to tell people how I met BSBK and how I met the Gupta family. I am actually part of a group, the Precast Association of India, and in that group, Mr. Manish Gupta, who's Shirang's father, he was there in that group, and he contacted me for certain requirements. And then we started this long-term relationship where we've been going back and forth. I've traveled to Raipur a couple of times, not couple, I think more than that. We've met a lot of times as well. We're actively looking at projects, large-scale projects with certain government organizations. So at that point, our relationship grew, and we're starting a very close relationship with the company as well. So that's how I met the company. And what I was really amazed is that in India, during the time that he said 2004, 2005, when everybody, it is very difficult to bring in technology in India. And these guys brought in precast technology, and not only brought in, also executed a project that is, at this scale. So that is very, very interesting.
adding on to what you just said, so I finished my education in the States, and I've been seeing since I was there. My father, Mr. Manish, they told me to explore precast technologies there. How is it? Well, what precast is and everything. So I started looking into it. The more I studied it, the more I looked into it, the more exciting it became, and I really wanted, like, when I come back, I bring that technology and try get that in the company. So we got that opportunity with when the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana came, and we we convinced the government, bring precast in Chhattisgarh, and that came in the form of a mass affordable housing project.
That is amazing. I mean, I've seen the project, and I think that is one of the, I think you can say one of the top 5 large projects done in precast technology in
Correct,
India.
correct.
And there's a misconception that precast is expensive, but you won that bid, right? It was
Yeah.
a proper tender bid.
Yes,
There was no
yes.
special leeways given to you. It was all win as a lowest bid.
Yes, we won
Am
that
I
as an
right?
L1 bid. I don't believe that
Okay.
precast is expensive. It is all about proper design engineering. The main thing with precast is you have to be, very design conscious. You have to design it keeping that technology in mind. And if you do that, you can compete with conventional technologies, and you can even be lower than that if you have enough skill.
Okay. I mean, that's what I've been trying to tell people, but there wasn't any case study in India. I mean, there are several case studies outside India, but I'm glad that there is this case study existing in India. And that is very interesting. And did you initially, when you started this project, what were the pushbacks that you received? I'm not only from the government, just generally from people. Did you get any pushback? Now, I'm not only talking about the benefits. I'm sure there'll be people who said there are problems, and I'm sure the government
We
officials, you had problems because
so
being a new technology adopter, I'm sure you had issues. So, what are some of the issues you faced?
Some of the issues first were during the design engineering, because even though it was an EPC project and we were given the responsibility of the complete design engineering, there's always an approval that is done by the government on the design engineering. So, explaining them the concept of precast and how the joints are designed, and how, because that misconception is that there's so many joints, so, they feel it's unsafe, and they have, you have to get it vetted here, there, and then it just takes a lot of time in the process. We went through that. We got a design engineering vetted from a government institute. We got everything done, and then that took a lot of time, but we went through that process of teaching the design engineering behind precast. But I guess
I mean, ironically,
that's a process. One has to go through that, so that, it's accepting. The technology has to be accepting also by the client.
now that you went through all that, it makes it easier for any other precast company that comes in. You know. Yeah, but also ironically, I want to highlight one point is that you say there's a lot of joints in precast, but people don't realize there are more joints in a cast and situ building than precast
Correct.
because every block has 4 blocks, has 4 joints.
Correct.
In precast, you have lesser joints, which is very difficult to convince people. But anyways, that is one part. So, have you received, for example, any uh, good feedback from your project?
Yes. So the good feedback that we received was one of the reasons why this project came up in precast, because there were a couple of people in the government who believed that since this is a mass affordable housing project, it's for people who are spending their life on money on just a roof under their house. So it should be a house that can last up to 100 years at least. So that's why they went for precast, but the entire thing is of M40 grade concrete, slabs of M50 grade. So, it's
So,
that is much
yeah.
more resilient than a traditional building made with block wall.
And what are the machines that you have in your factory? Can you give like a small breakdown?
Yeah, so we have 5 hollow core beds of 144-meter each. So that's approximately.
As because if there is somebody new watching this, can you explain what hollow core slabs are also so that people are
Yeah,
aware
yeah, yeah.
of slabs that yeah.
So
Yeah.
so basically in this project we designed it based on shear wall technology. So the entire house was broken down into wall panels and slabs. Each slab was 1.2-meter wide and up to a maximum span of 7.5 meters. And these are 150 thick slabs. So these slabs are called hollow core slabs because if you see the section of the slab, they have hollow cores in between, and 2 cores form an I beam. And the reinforcement in that is, so you have pre-stressed tendons which are pre-stressed, and then the slab is casted onto that, and then cut to the
Okay.
desired length, up to 7.5 meters onto the bed. So you cast a complete 140-meter length bed, and then you cut it based on the lengths you require as per design engineering. So these are
Okay.
how the slabs are made, and then we have around 35 tables where the wall panels are casted. So these are just normal flat tables with an MS sheet on top, and you put the shuttering in. The wall panels are pre-engineered. You have the reinforcement. You have the mold, and then you put in the concrete in, and then once it's casted, the tables tilt up, and the walls are stripped off the table, and then stacked into the yard for
Okay,
curing.
so I mean, this is the same method. I think I put a whole YouTube video explaining the whole process. So
Correct.
people who want to know what that whole system is about, please go watch that video. But in terms of setting up such a large factory, what was the vision? I mean, I understand this was one project, but what is the vision moving forward?
So we set it up, with a vision of taking up mega infra projects using precast. And that's why we went, our plant is capable of making around 300 square meters of built up area per day. So that's
Okay,
huge.
that is huge.
And
Yeah, and this is your factory, by the way. For people who don't know, the factory is called BSBK Precast, and it's in Naya Raipur. And I think the project that they did, the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, is around 6,200
correct.
units. You can explain, Shirang, what is the scale of that project. I'll put the pictures in the back as well.
Correct. So it is a combination of EWS and LIG units. They're either I think 400 square feet up to 600, 650, 700 square feet houses for the EWS and LIG category. And the EWS ones are G+4. And for the LIG ones, we went up to still +8.
8 floors.
Completely on precast.
So that's 9, ground plus 9, you
Correct.
can see, ground plus
Correct.
8, yeah.
Still. And even the stilt
Okay,
was
so
stilt. Even the stilt is
6,200
made of
units,
wall
and
panels.
oh, interesting. Okay. What is the total built up area of the project?
Around 3 lakh square meters.
Okay, so 30 lakh square feet. So, how did this opportunity come to you, this Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana? How did that opportunity come? Did you know about this project and then you started the factory, or was it, did you start the factory before the project?
So, whenever
you
you're
repeat?
bringing in a new technology, there's always a risk of whether it's going to be whether it's going to be accepted or not. So we wanted a project to, make that as a base and then take the technology forward. So we did a lot of convincing. There was a lot of hard work that went in from our side also in bringing up this. And since when the government came in, the state government was very aligned with the central government, and they wanted to push Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. We took that as an opportunity to promote precast, and we got this. We pushed the government to introduce precast into the tender itself. That should be technology based.
Did you start with a smaller, because my understanding was you had a smaller plant and then you
Yes.
expanded to this bigger
So
plant.
before we, and while we were working on this during the pre-tender part, we always had an eye that we want precast in a big way. So we set up a small unit in Bhilai, wherein I think we had we had three tilting tables and two beds, and they were locally sourced
Okay.
machines.
So you said this is in
Bhilai,
Bhilai.
yeah.
Okay. And do you still have that factory,
We
or is this
shifted
just
that
moved
completely
everything here?
to Naya Raipur for this plant. Yeah.
Okay.
So we did our trial. We
Okay.
we convinced one of our we convinced a business owner there who wanted to make a 500-bedded hospital. So we convinced him that why don't you do this in precast? So we did a hybrid way. Wherein we did structural columns and hollow core slabs.
Okay. That is very interesting. So that's what I keep telling people as well: start small and then scale up instead of going big. So even a factory this size, they all started small and then went to the bigger projects.
That
even though they're a 100-year
that
company.
also gave us a lot of insight on how the plant should be designed, what are the practical issues, because you can approach and an equipment manufacturer will tell you everything, but you also need to have that practical knowledge on how the plant should be effectively designed, so that when you're investing for a long term, it's a long term investment, so it should be done so that there's no rework or there's no problems during the operation of the plant.
Got it. And what about so now that you've executed such a large project, what kind of projects are you actively looking for now?
Mega scale projects. We have such a big factory, and unfortunately now in Naya Raipur there's so many projects coming up, but because there was an issue with the selling of the houses by the government of these EWS and LIG houses, for reasons best known to them, there's that.
I think I'm aware of the reasons because I was there. So they were saying that the location was a little
Yeah.
outside the city and there's no bus
So these are all
transportation, so
marketing
people are a little
issues.
hesitant to come and
So
go.
due to these
Yeah,
marketing issues, this project got so delayed that the whole, you know, the benefit of the technology, the superstructure is done. Everything is done. It's the finishing that is taking so long because the government is getting the finishing done slowly. They're curtailing the finishing works and everything because they want it aligned with the market. Like as they sell it, it should be ready as they sell it.
market, correct. But I think as connectivity improves in Raipur, the more units will sell, I
Correct,
suppose.
correct. And it now they're picking up pace. But it's been so long now. It's been what now? Almost 10 years. So it's been so long. So, anyways, apart from that, now because we have a factory in Naya Raipur, there are a lot of new projects. There are a lot of new private developments that are coming in Naya Raipur, in and
Okay,
around
okay.
Naya Raipur. So, what we are wanting now is because we've demonstrated this technology for affordable housing, we want to demonstrate this in the private real estate market. So now we are wanting to, demonstrate precast in the real estate market as well. Like because there's a what what I feel whenever I've discussed with people who are coming up and we tell them, why don't you adopt precast? So the issue is one, they don't want to block that capital in building the house. They would rather just sell plots in a real estate project. But that is being addressed in Naya Raipur because now the government is they're doing tenders for row housing projects. You have to sell built up. So that is one good thing. So using that, I discussed more with people. Go for precast. You'll build houses faster. Anyways, you have to do this within a time span. Might as well do it faster than your targeted time span using conventional. So one hiccup that they have is they think that because they are sending core shell villas, so there's a misconception that it is very fixed. You cannot have any it cannot be modified later by the client, which may have an effect on its
I think,
marketability.
yeah.
So but that is not
Mm-hmm.
true. It is all, again, as I said, it is all about design engineering, how it can be flexibly designed so that your core structure is on precast, and then you can do block work and do the partition walls and modify the house as per the client wants. It's all on marketing. So
Got it.
we're
Got
still
it.
trying to find that one breakthrough with one real estate project so that we can demonstrate that. Because in there, Chhattisgarh, unfortunately, even though we adopted precast much earlier, has not adopted precast in its true sense in every part of the sector where it can. Wherein, if you see
Okay.
the southern states, Hyderabad, Bangalore, people have started factories, developers have set up their own factories and are using them in their own projects. And people,
Yeah.
pay premium to use precast, to have a precast home and to have a house that fast. So that mindset here needs to change a little bit.
But I think that whole ecosystem is now driving towards castency too. And slowly, I think if one or two more factories pop up there, things will start
Correct.
changing. I think people have this feeling that if the precast projects come in, only one factory will get all the jobs. So there might be these apprehensions that people have. So I think in this scenario, maybe competition is a good
Yes,
thing.
yes.
In any
I,
ways, you
I
have a big
always
factory,
believe
you will be
healthy
focusing
competition
on
is
bigger
good.
projects.
You more precast plants
Correct,
should come up. You learn from competition, you keep evolving.
correct, correct, correct. Hey, quick interruption, and I promise this one's worth it. If you're watching this and something in today's conversation is hitting close to home, if you've been thinking about starting your own precast concrete business but just don't know where to begin, I want to tell you about two ways we can help. First, Modular Pulse Business Summit. This happens in Goa. We bring exactly 100 people into a room, no more. This is not a conference, this is not some exhibition. There are no stalls, no sponsors, no fluff. It is 100 serious people sitting together and breaking down exactly what it takes to build a precast factory from scratch. Land requirements, production process, installation, investment, profit margins, everything. You'll walk out of that room with a clear head and clear strategy. If that sounds like something you need, the link is below. Second, if you're not ready for the summit yet and you don't want to travel to Goa, we have online workshops. These are focused, specific, and built for action. We have dedicated workshops for someone who wants to start a precast concrete boundary wall factory and a separate one for someone who wants to get into UHPC, which is ultra high performance concrete. Both are available in Hindi and English. So no barriers here. All the links are in the description below. Go and check them out. Now back to the conversation. I believe that you are a developer as well. So are you experimenting a precast in your own
Yes,
projects
so
also?
now seeing that challenge, we also decided, with the next project that we are bringing up, it is a row housing project, and we'll do precast. We'll do precast villas.
That's great. That's great. That's
What
great.
better way to
So what is
show it
the
in your own project then? That's why we took that call.
I'll ask you a not trick question. I'll ask you something. You can think about it and tell me what is one thing about your factory's capability you think the market is underestimating?
I mean, I think it is just I think the scale of it. I feel, they
I mean, people think you can say that people think that precast is expensive. In that angle, you can talk.
as in what sense? I didn't understand.
No, as in people see such a big factory and think that you will quote very high,
That's
and that's why
so
people don't come. But you can break that misconception.
so the one thing of the factory is, it is, even though it is big, it is designed in a way. We can match conventional. We can go even lower. It's all on design engineering. So if some people think that if they see such a plant and they feel that precast is going to be expensive, they're going to quote very high. That's not true. You know, if you have, of course, you need repetitions for precast to be effective, cost effective. But once we get the drawings, we ensure how we can have similar elements and increase those repetitions also.
Exactly. That is on the design engineer or the structural engineer to make sure, or the architect to make sure that there's repeatability. So in a project, for everybody out there, like even if it's a single project like a 4-story building, you will have multiple repetition in that same building. It doesn't have to be 500 buildings or 50 buildings, which is a big misconception. A bigger factory probably can be more efficient as well if the scale of project is
And it's
right.
versatile.
But that is good.
We have beds. We can do columns also. We can do beams on it. We have. It's a versatile factory, and it's designed in that way that
Okay.
tomorrow, if I want to do different elements, the infrastructure is designed that we can do that.
So if I talk about precast operations now, if I'm not wrong, you were doing cast in situ before, right? Or only steel construction? Could you correct me if I'm wrong? Were you doing normal construction before precast?
We were.
Okay. So now that you have a precast factory, and now before that you said you're a 100-year-old company, do you see that big difference in construction technology when you moved towards this? What was the big change that you saw?
So first of all, the dependency on labor reduced heavily on site. We always used to have that problem of calling gangs from here and there. Now you have specialized people. First of all, shifting the whole construction job into the factory makes a lot of difference, because now everything is in a very controlled environment. The quality is consistent throughout. So all elements, everything is checked, everything, and then dispatched. Now the skill comes in on the erection part of it, for which you have specialized people. We have trained people, and now we have our own set of people, and they do the erection. That has to be done by a very trained team, and if done right, it's faster, it's watertight, everything is perfect if it's just done right there. One more thing was, now with precast, the need for plaster also goes away, which also has a big impact on the quality of construction. Finding a good plaster gang, because problem nowadays plastering, when I see it on site, is just to hide the brick wall that is being done. There is no proper methodology or SOP for plastering. Right now, but with precast finish, you don't need to do plaster. You paint directly on the wall.
There is one big point that you touched here that people are constantly asking me is, where do you get people for your factories? How did you train them? And where did you get the people from?
So these are people who've been in construction. They're construction gangs, construction labor. But when you train them in a factory, they're used to doing the same thing over and over and over again. So that's what conditions them, and that's how the quality is improved. There is no precast university. There is no special precast training that is given to any worker. They're normal gangs.
That's what I've been trying to tell people as well, that we just launched a factory in Nagpur, and we had sent one of our trainers there, and within 2 weeks they produced and erected a whole boundary wall. So, and also all the projects that we did abroad, we recruited 1,000 people from India, and we trained them within 2 weeks in doing. 95% of all the people outside India are all Indians. So this myth about saying, oh, Indians cannot handle precast,
No,
or
that's
there's no people here. I don't think it's
not at
right.
all.
I mean, you are one of the biggest examples here. That I'm sure you didn't hire them by paying double money
Not
and
at all.
brought them
Not
from
at all.
Dubai. Did you do
Not
that?
at all.
Yeah,
After getting
yeah.
trained in my factory, they're demanding more.
Yeah, exactly. That is another problem. Once they get trained, then they want to go to Dubai or somewhere else. That's a big problem that is of holding them on. Now, because Adani is building so many factories
Correct.
here, they're also poaching a lot of people. So, what would be your, your advice to people who want to venture into this industry of precast? What would be your advice? And after that, I'll ask you a couple of more questions that I constantly get. So it comes from the horse's mouth itself. So please tell me.
So it's precast is just a way of industrializing the construction process. So once you get into precast, your focus shifts from firefighting daily quality issues on site, then to setting up procedures. You have to be in the mindset of setting procedures and systems inside of factory. It becomes a process plant. Say any process plant, you require fixed SOPs, fixed systems, and it just needs to be repeated, hammered on every day and day in, day out. And then that's how the complete industrialization happens and consistent quality is achieved. And it is the you save on time. Once you there's so much savings. You save on time, you save on reinforcement. It's just everything just becomes much more efficient.
Concrete
The
wastage.
concrete wastage is low, so it just becomes a lot more
Yeah.
efficient. But of course, the mind shift needs to happen to set systems, processes, and have complete engineering before you start the work. The engineering needs to be frozen.
Do you think that is one of the drawbacks, having the engineering fixed before the project starts? Because the one people will say, with cast in situ, we can do the engineering slowly. I feel that is a sign of inefficiency,
Exactly,
but
that is a sign
that
of
is a
inefficiency.
lot of times a
So
complaint.
it depends on from which angle from whose standpoint you look at it. If you're looking at from a developer or from a EPC contractor standpoint, you would want everything to be clear before you start the work. You would want full clarity on the complete design engineering because you work out your BOQs, you work out your drawings accordingly. You don't want changes to happen every day on site. And that's how you have to condition the client as well. Then you have them sit across the table, you spend time. I always believe, if the project, if you have to be delayed by 2 months, be delayed for 2 months during design engineering, so that once that is done, then the process is much more simpler and faster and efficient.
But do you think this is possible in India?
It is. I truly believe it is. It's just that it's a process, it's a challenge, but why not? If people can do it, why can't we do it? Why can't we freeze the
Correct.
engineering?
Okay.
Because
That's
if you, I correct me if I'm wrong. This is my assumption that if you see in Bangalore and all, people don't have time to spend on the engineering of the villa and everything. So they also want everything is closed, and then they want their houses delivered quickly. They don't want to sit on site and see what is happening. They want their home ready as per what they had wanted when they sat for discussion. So that is such a big advantage that you can give
correct.
them through precast.
Correct. That's great. And another big, pushback that I get is, precast can't be used. Like, since you brought up Bangalore, this is why I'm asking you. Precast cannot be used in, small roads, small gullies. What would you tell them?
What do you mean by small roads and gullies? Like for logistic wise?
Logistics wise, yes.
No. So again, you design the elements accordingly, right? You design the elements seeing the transport in mind. You can have smaller wall panels. You can have smaller spans of slabs. It's all how you design it. Everything is possible in
Yeah.
precast. Everything is possible. It is just a matter of design engineering.
Mindset
Exactly. It's an mindset.
and
Yes.
engineering. Yeah. So what Shirang is trying to say is, for example, you don't have to, design wall panels that are 4 meter by 8 meter. You can also do it in 2 meter by 1 meter, and then go install them. Like how you do block
Correct.
work, use precast to do block work, and finish smaller projects where logistics is an issue. So that is the thing. So moving on to your ambitions again. So I want to ask you one question. Suppose someone watching this says, there's a big project in another state outside Chhattisgarh, which is a sizable project, would you be open to moving to that state?
Definitely. So we decide we when we so funny thing, when we designed the plant and we set up the plant, we did it in a very modular way so that it can be deassembled completely and shifted. Like the structure is all done bolted. There's no welding, so it can completely be deassembled and moved. So that we had that in mind. We are not bound by location. If there is an opportunity, we would love to set up the plant there and demonstrate the benefits of precast in that project as well.
Yeah, that's great. By the way, this I will speak to two people here. One is if somebody's planning to venture into precast concrete construction, and somebody who has a mega projects. It could be both, could be one person as well. If you think that you want to do the project in precast, you can call BSBK. They can do the whole project for you. You can then see it with your own eyes what the project is all about, because there's zero risk for you. They're bringing the equipment, they're bringing the plant, they're constructing it for you. And then once you see how the project is done, you can probably invest yourself. So it's a good way to start in this industry, I feel. Okay, I know it's not good for him. He would want more and more projects from you, but I mean it's a good place for you to check out. At least
anytime
you can test.
the more the industry, I don't believe that you can only grow without the industry growing. The industry has to grow, and only then you can grow also with it.
Correct. Before we end, I mean, okay, one thing is what made you contact us, Shiran? What is your, in terms of, I know this podcast is because now we're friends, but in terms of services, what do you think that we brought in?
So how we got in touch and how you know dad, I remember he just started Instagram and he got heavily into it, and it was just the best part is because we had someone actually talking about precast on social media. That was a big that was a big thing. So that's when we heard about you, then the first thing is let's contact him, let's get in touch, because
Okay.
he has been saying what we have been wanting to say for such a long time.
Okay.
So that's
We're at
good.
a big stage. That's good. Hopefully, we work on this project, your next project, very
Yes,
soon, and
yes.
we make it very successful. Like I said, anywhere in India, we are open to working. Doesn't have to be in Chhattisgarh. Of course, Chhattisgarh would be very comfortable, but we are open to pan India because of the size of the factory.
Correct.
We need to have a certain scale of project. If you need to contact us for any of your projects, you can click the link in the bio and contact us, and we can take it from there. But in the meanwhile, Shirang, is there anything else you want to say before we close this off?
I think just a little bit on the future of precast. I believe precast will play we already talked about it. So just to summarize, precast will play an increasingly important role in India's construction industry, because as projects are becoming larger, the timelines are also becoming tighter, and the need for faster and more reliable construction methods will grow. So industrialized construction methods like precast will become more and more common because they bring efficiency, quality, and predictability in the project execution.
And I keep telling people, India needs 32 million homes by 2034, and if we build the old way, we will never get there.
Correct.
So it has to be
Correct.
industrialized.
And our long-term vision
Right.
is to contribute to the shift towards this more organized and technology-driven construction. And the precast is a step in that direction only. So by bringing that manufacturing process
Great.
into construction, we can improve the productivity, reduce delays, deliver better quality infrastructure. And ultimately, the goal is to support the development of cities and industries with construction methods that are faster, safer, and more reliable. And that's how India will grow now.
Thank you so much for your time, Shirang. I know you're on a holiday in Goa, and you're with your family,
No,
but
this was
thank you for
fun. This
taking
was
out the
fun.
time and talking
Definitely.
to us. Thank you. And hopefully, we'll be in some part of India using your factory to build some mega project, which will be one of the biggest projects in India.
Definitely.
So
Definitely looking
all
forward
the
to it.
best.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Roshan.